Welcome to the ToothSketch podcast. I'm Dr. Shreya and I'm here with my colleague Dr. Choksi.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're here with Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, always good, always good.
So, Steve has been a dental technician with over 27 years of experience, and he's the president of the Dental Lab Association, and as well as the owner of Nexus Dental Lab, which is a fully digital lab which he started in 2015. So it's an honor to have you here with us, Steve, today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to join you both. Thank you very much for the invite. I can't wait to talk about some of the topics that we've got on the agenda today. It's going to be good fun.
Yes, it is. And so I think, Steve, just as we are emerging from the third lockdown, probably in UK now, and how are things moving in the industry? How has everything been?
Yeah, it really has been a kind of watershed moment for the whole of the dental laboratories industry, because what's happened in the UK is a large portion of the laboratories were servicing the NHS side of the market. And the NHS side of the market obviously went just fully into emergency services only, no restorative. They were trying to, really do the best they could on quite a limited scope. So what happened was all of those labs just literally went in the space of a week from having worked to nothing. So as we're coming out of this, what we've actually seen is many of those NHS labs some of them have just left. They were old, they're retiring. They've just said, that's it, enough. And others have actually said, you know what, I can't have this happen again. I'm going to have to adjust. Maybe I should be looking at more digital high-end work. And, I need to know I've got more security when this comes again, or looking for kind of maybe a restructure and direct contract with the NHS. So they would have the clinical side support, because there was support for the clinical side in, helping them with the expenses. But obviously the labs, they're not part of that contract. They are just somebody who services and supports. So they're being looked at as a whole in a way to protect the NHS services more, but also understand that some of those laboratories, they are going to move away from that, I think, if they have that uncertainty going forward, because it's caught us all cold, hasn't it? Nobody saw this coming. If anyone spoke to me in 2019, I told them my plans for 2020 were shoot for the moon. Nobody saw this happening. But now that it has happened, I think everyone's had a big reappraisal. What am I doing? What am I doing it for? What market do I want to work with?
Definitely.
Steve, you are a pioneer in this industry, okay, and you've witnessed lots of revolution in dentistry. I'm not telling you are old, quite young, okay. With the amount of fun we had last year, just before the lockdown, we were just 1 week before the lockdown, we were in Australia, literally 1 week before, and we did not know whether we were going to make it back. Yeah. And we were skiing in Australia that week, and it was amazing. But yeah, so if you think about this, that dentistry has changed, and over the last 2 decades, there have been a lot of changes which has come. What changes do you think have made a significant, have played a significant role in the success of the way you are running the lab?
One of the biggest things that we've seen is, as an industry, laboratories used to be very manual production places. You'd walk into a lab and there was lots of noise, lots of manual labor going on, things being invested, divested, trimmed, acrylic everywhere, stuff going off all over the place. And it was like working into a foundry floor in a miniature scale. We were kind of industrial. Whereas what we've seen actually is there's a complete change in that. The manual labor element is really not where it's at. The manual labor that now happens in the lab we have, if we even have fully digital lab, is only for us, the ceramist doing the very fine ceramic detailing at the end. All of the other elements, all of the waste processes we have to go through to wax up, then boil out, then cast gold into it, then trim, then layer. These were so many stages, they're all gone. You wouldn't recognize a lab of 20 years ago compared to a lab of today. It's just, well, you do in some areas, because we haven't all moved as whole scale. It's actually, what's really surprised me is it's actually happening so gradually. There are some labs that are wholly still analog and really struggling to get onto this, but actually other labs, it's like polar opposite ends of the scale. So if you look at what's going to make or has made the biggest change, it's identifying that you really cannot have that lost heavy labor time when you've got an expensive, highly skilled workforce. That's not a good use of their time. You need to put those high skill sets and, you know, quite expensive salaries to make sure that they're being used to their maximum effect. It's just, I think that's what's happened to most of the industry. They've realized, I've got a really highly skilled ceramist, but he would actually be the guy who's cleaning out the plaster trap, still trimming models, still doing A, B, and C, running around, you know, dropping stuff off, picking it up. And we were like, guys, this is not a way to run a professional business. And that's what you are. So it's been a whole mindset change. And what's interesting is I'm seeing it now trickle down to labs that you would always have thought were very hardcore analog labs are really starting to get it. That I think they understand it is evolve or die. There will be no place for a fully analog laboratory in the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
I think what digital allows you to do is it changes the way your lab team actually spends their time. You know, what they used to spend their time on, but now they're spending their time on more useful, value-added services rather than spending, like you said, cleaning up plaster or acrylic.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely,
changed.
Shreya. Absolutely, Shreya. I mean, you know, when I deal with a solicitor, if I'm sending some work to them, it's not all being done by the top solicitor. You actually have somebody who's doing paralegal work or somebody who's just doing admin work, but the lab never had that. They never broke up into high value sectors. Like, it was just crazy. It was mind blowing. I just never got it.
Yeah, and I think now they can probably spend more time on, I'm sure, like communication with the clinician is actually something that you probably could not spend as much time on.
Sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
now they can spend much more time. How does case planning work now with with the dentist that you're working with?
Well, Shreya, I mean, this is a great topic because if anybody asks me about digital, I always say the number one thing for me that digital's done, it's enhanced the communication with the surgeons. So we talk about global teamwork. On a daily basis, I'm working with people in Mölndal in Sweden, surgeons in London, and I've got a ceramist that I still work with at our partner site in Tenerife. That happens on a daily basis, along with, you know, remote design partners as well. And what happens there is it means that I get all that information back as quickly as I can, and I pass it to my surgeon as a 3D web viewer so that they're able to look at it and they can actually get a really good clinical consideration. They're not being asked to answer the phone, have a technician bombard them with a load of information and expect them to make a mental picture about, okay, what does the technician need from me? He's saying this about the length. It looked long enough. I don't know what he's talking about. Whereas now we take our time, good visual communication with a nice 3D viewer. We can send it across. I could send it to Choxy. Hey, Choxy, what do you think to this lateral? You know, now that you see this compared to the other one, would you like that? Do you think the patient would like it twisted a bit? And sometimes the surgeon will be like, do you know what? I might actually pass this viewer on to the patient. Let's talk to them about it. So I think now communication has actually just massively, massively improved how we operate as an effective team. You cut down your remakes massively if you nip all those issues in the bud. And sometimes all it took was someone to look at something and instantly come back and show, like Chucksy might have looked at the central and said, hey, Steve, no, I wanted that rotated. And it's like, great, because we're talking about it now and it's just the design. No materials have been milled, no expenses being incurred. This is when we should discuss it. We avoid disappointment at the end. We're just making the most of our time. And I think that's, for me, I would tell everybody, if there's one reason why you go digital, that's why you go digital. It's like we're in the same room. Look at us now. We're talking together like we could be in the same, having the same lunch break, even though we're at different parts of the world. It's stunning.
Absolutely. I mean, you have literally pinned this point from my mouth. What happened with me is before lockdown, I used to never do this. Okay. But now what I have started doing is, once I do first consultation with my patient and I've done all the digital impressions and all those things, I usually invite patient to have a Zoom consultation where I show them the mock-ups on Zoom. I send the files to Shreya. The team there, they will do the wax up, so mock-up now. And I'll just call the patient in, tell them, let's do a quick 20-minute Zoom consultation. They'll be like, yeah, fine. Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you want to change anything? Yeah, it's amazing the way things have changed and transformed. And I'm sure this is help. I mean, we keep listening this that there is shortage of dental technicians. Yeah, quality
Yeah.
dental technicians, experienced dental technicians. I'm sure this will help in some aspect with that. What are your thoughts about this? That, I mean, does this help you in any ways with the shortage which we are facing at this point?
I've said on numerous occasions, I feel like the little boy that saw a tidal wave coming up on a beach and no one was listening for a long time. I was like, guys, we have in 5 years a 50% drop off in UK dental workforce numbers coming, because most of our technicians are 55, 56, 57. That's the wealth body of all of them. That's some of the most highly skilled technicians we've ever seen are going to leave the industry. And unfortunately, in the UK, we've seen a drop off in training. We're putting out 12 trained technicians a year in some years. That's just crazy. That's not going to replace the swathes of them that are leaving. And I think that if people don't really adapt now, in 5 years' time, we're going to have a crisis. The crisis will be, can we actually provide enough of the medical devices and services that our population need, or will we have to outsource, wholesale outsource, because we haven't adapted, we haven't prepared ourselves? And I keep saying to everybody, you must prepare. And the number one thing for me is time. So time is the one thing it's the one thing that I put above everything else now. It's like, look, guys, make sure that the time you're using is the best use of your time. And that's all I ask you to do. And I go through it with my team. And it was kind of why when we set up Nexus 5 years ago, I set up, even with a limited budget, the first thing I did was start doing my digital design work and remote milling with Mölndal, Sweden, Atlantis. Certainly wasn't the cheapest choice, but it was by far the most efficient choice for the use of our time and how efficient we could be and how we scaled. Because in 1 year, I was doing the turnover of a lab that I'd previously been in with only 3 people, and that lab had 18 people. And that just really hit home to me. Yes, it's because I'm not spending all this time trying to do all of the manual tasks in the abutment. I'm letting a team do the initial design, and I'll spend 5 minutes on each one. When they come back, the quality was amazing, everything's stunning, but it's always been time. And I think, but like you say, in 5 years, only 5 years, that is crazy to think. I'm not even talking like in my children's time. I'm talking, I'm going to see this in my working lifetime. We're going to hit a crisis of support. So we need to start looking around. How do I deliver the services that I want to at the quality I need to? What am I going to be able to do? And I think we're going to have to start to look at where we send work. How do we recruit people? I've made the conscious decision that we're not replacing or getting another CAD technician in. I'm only going to look to work with design partners to replace that. I've got 3 very good CAD technicians here. Do I want a 4th here? No. I want more remotely, because that gives us some other benefits that, it gives us a bit of a free up on our time. And the people who are here are going to just really concentrate on, like you say, they'll probably be talking to our surgeons, going through the case in detail. Then we'll start working like an architect. You get a house, you plan first, you get the plan perfect, then you put your first foundations down. We don't get halfway through 2 rows up and like, I don't like the shape of this. It's like, we've just got to change how we've been.
Yeah, I think with this digitization, especially like you said, in the next 5 years, it's going to be, in post-COVID, there's going to be a big change in how labs are run. So what do you think a dental lab in UK is going to look like in 4 or 5 years from now?
Well, I think if you want to see how it's going to look, you look to labs like Ashley Burns. It looks like a design studio. It really does. It looks like a design agency. Lovely open spaces, really enticing, because I want to recruit skilled, talented, bright individuals into our industry. Now, I'm not going to do that. Now, I did go to the kind of lab where it was noise everywhere and acrylic dust in the air. And hey, I like the madness of it. but that doesn't inspire a new generation that really want to work in a professional setting. They want to feel like they're making a difference. And that for me is the crucial bit here. I don't think there is a service where you do as much as we do in dentistry. You see how people's lives are changed. They come in, they've got so many issues, they can be insecure, they might have just trouble, eating properly. And you see people literally transformed to be a technician as a part of that team, helping deliver those devices that help that happen with people. I think we've got a lot to offer young, aspiring talent that wants to feel like not only are they doing a job in a great setting, but they're also making a difference. And more people now, when I talk to some of the younger guys that we've got in here, they talk about the jobs they choose, the things they do. They really want to feel like they've made a difference. It's the value of the work as well. And I think we're repositioning ourselves. The lab of the future will be all about design, all about communication, all about cooperation, but virtually no manufacture, which sounds crazy to say. But, in this laboratory here, the only manufacturer is the 4 ceramists we have that do the very final layering and detailing and tiny contouring. Everything else happens not inside this building. And I think that is the future.
Yeah. What do you think about dentists investing in all these 3D printers and milling units, which are there in houses nowadays? What do you guys think as a competition or?
No. Hey, look, no, I'll tell you exactly how I feel about it. I think the more of you that do it, the better. Do you know why? We've got a shortage of skilled technicians. Let's just say my children are going to want to go in one day, they've broken a cusp off a molar, they're going to need that crown restoring. I want them to be able to get that service. Now, if you can go in and a surgeon has the design team with them, they've got the materials, they've got the ability to produce you that restoration, then great. Because actually technicians more and more, I've said it, Ashley said it, I don't see future technicians working very much on molar restorations, because I think some of the way technology is going, the way the materials are evolving, I don't think you want a ceramist to be layering a molar, because actually it's got more chance of fracturing. I think you want a good, very robust structure, well designed, because it's the workhorse of the mouth. So I'm in no way threatened by it, and never have been. My only caveat to everyone who's doing it would be the same thing that I say to my own team, which is, okay, but then remember your value, remember your high skill set, because you didn't train for so many years to be an excellent surgeon to run around being kind of half a technician and then servicing your machine and then cleaning out the filters and then doing this. As long as you can build a team to do it effectively, great, but always don't get drawn away from where your highest value skill is. It's always about that. And the one analogy I've always got is like, look, I never saw Lewis Hamilton getting into the pits, getting out his car, doing all his tweaks and his engineering. He's got a great pit crew. Do what you do best. Let them support you. That's the way we're all going to get to the number 1 spot.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, that's what we were discussing. We are thinking on a verge of investing into 3 milling units at all sites, and every time we talk about it, they're like, "Are you going to spend that much time yourself?" I was like, "No."
Exactly.
My time will pay. It's more worth for me to operate than to do the milling. But yes, I would definitely do it because it's amazing for me, especially for immediates, single units.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, or
exactly.
3 units immediates. It's amazing option, because otherwise I end up spending loads of time picking it up, relining with composite, getting the soft tissue contour right, getting the pressure right. But that can be done amazingly on the 3D, on the milling units. So that's the main reason why I'm getting into it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we're all here serving a patient. And that's what, when I did used to hear labs talking about our work, their work's like, no, remember, why are we are all here patient facing. So if your surgeries have that capacity and someone comes in like, oh, this has happened and I've got this happening, and now it's like, don't worry, I can help you. That's the best thing anyone can say to someone. It's about having the right solution, the right toolbox. So in no way has it ever been a threat. I think the more robust our solutions are to help patients, the better as a team. We are a team.
That's it. And at the end of the day, the goal is that the patient gets the best restoration. At the end of the day, it's a medical device that you're making that has to be of a certain set quality. It has to be whatever the best we can
100%.
do. But one of the biggest hindrances that most of the analog labs feel when they're going into digitization is the cost, because it's a big, they think it's a big investment, milling unit, scanning unit, everything, the softwares. So like, how can a lab that is just starting off, trying to go digital, how can they get the best return on investment?
Yeah, and okay, and are you guys sponsored or not? Because I don't want to sound like I'm upsetting a rep here, but let's just say I think the biggest problem here is sometimes a rep will go into a lab and say you can go digital, and I'll sell you the scanner, the milling unit, the this, the that, okay, and they will list all of this stuff, and the lab owner sits there and thinks, I'll never be able to afford this, and it's just not true, because all they need is one Exocad design dongle. With that dongle, they can accept digital workflows from their surgeons. If they don't feel they're quite up to speed with designing yet, choose a design partner remotely for you. Because what you can do is you can zip your case, you can upload it to your design partner, you can get it back to you when it's been designed by them, you can open it, and you've got the files ready to produce. So you've actually not had a huge outlay. You've not had to go and find a CAD design, because that was the other thing. But I need a technician who can use computers. No, you don't. You can teach yourself so easily to, with Exocad, accept a case, zip it, send it to a design partner. It's so easy. So I think we were kind of hindered because a lot of people had a financial incentive to flog you as much as they could. We didn't do that. When I first started, very first started in digital, we used to actually send some of our box cases, and the guys in Sweden would scan it, digitize it. That's how we started. Then I got busier. I got so busy that we were sending sort of 8 a day. I was like, actually now the freight costs alone of sending this, if I just got a scanner and just started scanning it for them, I'm going to save a day in freight, and the freight's going to pay for the work I'm sending. So I ended up with a scanner. Then when I had a scanner, I started, well, actually, okay, I've got a bit of time today. I'll have a go at trying one of these designs. So I still do some designs here, even though we work with design partners around the world. But at least I've got the option to offload it when I'm too busy, because I don't want my standards to drop, or if I've got time, bring it back in. It's on off. So I would say to labs, please don't think you have to buy everything. In fact, I would encourage you not to buy anything other than your Exocad design dongle or 3Shape. If you can't design, send to design partners. Then, as you see your revenues grow, and they will grow, because all of a sudden you will be able to open the door to all this digital business you weren't getting, you can then decide, oh, actually, I'm getting so many of these now, I might actually get a 3D printer and print my own models. Rather than sending them to, skill bundle print models for you, elemental print models for you, there's services all around the country, all around the world that will do milling, printing, everything for you. So don't feel you have to go in high. I think the cost to entry now for Exocad, for a good basic design dongle, is probably around about 2,500. That's it. You are ready to go. You will get that money back so easily. And I think that's the message we need to get out there. Don't, please don't forget the old one-stop shop mentality that lab owners have. Okay, you're not going to be cleaning out the plaster trap anymore, and you're also not going to be trying to do all the designing and all your own milling. Hey, reach out to all the partners who are out there, and effectively, I've got, I think we've got 18 team in total now. But genuinely, if I think of all the partners I'm working with every day, I bet my team's around about 60 people. If I include all the engineers, the designers in all the different design teams, do that. Why don't you get yourself some more team? Because that's time's going to be the thing that's going to kill you. That's what's going to kill you in the coming years.
I mean, you have literally answered my next question, which I was going to ask
Sorry.
you about what do you think about outsourcing and what the value you get? And you have said that, oh my God, that's what you do. And if you're saying that that's the expanded team which you have, which you don't see literally at all, right? That speaks a lot about what your takes are on outsourcing. Is the market, do you think that trends are, quite a lot of labs are doing this, you think, or still people are hesitant?
they're hesitant. The trend is there, though. You've just got to look globally. This is the way our industry is going to go. We are going to have to learn to find better partners, work with better partners, and get used to sort of global distribution of our workloads. And that's exactly what we do. It is more about a global distribution. And I think it's the mindset shift that people have to get right now. And it will see them so well going forward. You know, 5 years ago, we started working with Atlantis, and we'd worked with them for a long time anyway, but it was my first move because I knew as one technician, if I had to sit and design all my abutments all day, I wouldn't have time for anything else. So I don't do that. I spend literally 4 minutes on every design because most of it's all done for me, like tick, 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 tick. They still come with our signature finish because it's maybe the slight tweak that I understand that if I'm doing work for Tim, I know exactly how Tim likes it in a certain area. That's it. But that for me is the right thing to be. That's where my value comes in. That's why I'm part of the team. And I think that's what we've got to learn to do. Reach out, work with people globally. And that's what I think you'll find is going to be the second most powerful. Communication is the first most powerful for me, but the second most powerful is you're never going to find easier recruiting in your life because, you know, like when we were talking about working together, it was like, yep, that's a no-brainer. Okay, I'm going to sign up. Okay, yeah, I'm signed up. Great, I'm going to upload a case. I've never in my life started working with a team as easily as that. Here you come in, here's the fridge, here's Joe, such and such, get your parking, settle down, do this. None of that. And like, we're working. This is the way it's going to be going forward. This is the future trend. The rest of the other industries are so used to it. It's just, I think dentistry's been quite slow on picking up on, oh, wow, there's a global team thing we can do. That's going to be the future.
Yeah, actually,
I mean, you have literally summarized it all in this last statement which you've given. And every time I've spoken to Ashley or you guys say that, you know, dentistry before was a technician literally buried in the dust of plaster, stone, acrylic, everything. And now a technician is a person who sits in front of the computer with a mouse, and that's all the technician is doing. And that's a trend which has changed. And I'm sure people in dental world will start getting into the trend of globalizing their work, getting more global partners like what we are trying to build up ourselves. Mm-hmm. So we are expecting and we are hoping that this change will happen, hopefully in near future. And we will get better and better as clinicians and dental technicians, and basically dental industry will grow in that way.
Yeah, but you can't fail. I mean, look, the fact that we're having this discussion now, the fact that it is enabled with all of the tools we have, you know, you as a clinically led team, you know what you're expecting. So when you start a new service, you're like, look, well, this is what I want it to do because I know what I expect. I know what I'd like it to do. But then you talk to other people and you're saying, okay, well, what would you look for? And the more knowledge you get, the more that you start to everyone sort of adapt. This is how it all progresses. And I love that. This is a proactive engagement. And post-COVID, I think, you know, we've all realized we need to make sure that we've got plan A, B, C, and D, because nobody knows now what's coming next year. So, hey, let's just do what we can keep doing. The one good thing is this didn't stop any of our global teamwork. If anything, it's driven us harder to embrace it even more because we need to make sure. And as Shreya said, and you've mentioned as well, we are delivering medical devices to patients. That cannot stop. So it's our duty to make sure we can do that in better ways as we keep going forward.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. And thankfully, technology is there. The technology is there for us to be able to work wherever you are in the world. We can all work together. And I think we should make the best use of that. And it will be so. But thank you so much, Steve, for taking out time and to sharing your wisdom and your experience with us.